Hey guys, Jeff Naturally Caffeinated here today. I want to talk to you about a huge breakthrough I've had with my slow wheelie technique. The whole purpose for Jeff's Naturally Caffeinated YouTube channel is so that I can improve hard enduro, slow wheelies, anything dirt biking. And so I want to share that with you. So I want to thank you guys for commenting on my videos, especially the Why Slow Wheelies Are So Challenging video. A couple of you referenced something that I think is very key. Now, I think there are three main components to a slow wheelie. That's clutch control, throttle control, and rear brake control. Now, I know there's a lot more to this slow wheelie technique, but those are the three main things I want to talk about today. So I've mentioned in a past video that I took a lesson from a local pro enduro rider out here, Rich Larson, 5'11". So Rich Larson spends a lot of quality time with you when you do his lessons. And what he taught me was clutch control, throttle control, and using the rear brake. Okay, once you're done with your lesson and you go home and you try to apply things, it's a whole different story, right? Because you're out of the element, you don't have someone guiding you the whole time, and you're trying to remember everything that you were taught that day. Well, since that time, I posted that video, the slow wheelie video, you guys commented, and something really stuck with me, and that was controlling the rear brake. So we're told in wheelies that you should cover the rear brake. Well, I've learned how to control the rear brake. So I want to share that with you today. So clutch control, right? You need to learn how to modulate the clutch so that you can utilize the suspension and the bike's power to bring the front end up and to maintain that front wheel in the air. You use the throttle also in the same aspect where you're controlling the speed of the engine, how much gas you're giving it, and when to back off. Well, the rear brake isn't just something to save you from looping the bike. It actually helps you control your wheelie, keeps that front end up. Now think about that for a minute. So as you pull your front end up and you start to get going, once you gain some momentum, you can either let the bike drop down or loop on you. And that's where the rear brake comes in. And so this is my breakthrough. So I had a couple of you guys comment on that when I'm doing my slow wheelies, they notice that I'm real tense, I'm real stiff in the arms, and that I'm not utilizing the rear brake at all. And that was so key for me. So what I decided to do was go to a grassy field out here by my house here and start practicing. And what I did was I told myself, I'm only gonna practice the rear brake today. And what I was doing was I was pulling the front end up, because I can pull the front end up pretty easily and I can maintain the front end for a few seconds. But what helped was I practiced pulling the front end up, hitting the rear brake and bringing it down. Pull the front end up, hit the rear brake and bring it down. And after a few rounds of that, I decided to try setting some goals. This is another key element in anything you want to do, anything you want to accomplish, and that is setting goals. So I decided that I would start counting the amount of times that I saved myself from looping the bike. So as I brought the front end up, I'd give it a little bit more gas to get the bike going and keep that front end up. And eventually what was happening is my front end started to come up way high and I'd start to go into the loop mode and I would tap the rear brake ever so lightly. So there was a time where I had counted, I think 3, where I was calling it saving myself from looping the bike. Well, that eventually turned into 6 and 7 times I saved myself from looping the bike. Well, what that did was it helped my mind, my muscle memory, get the feel for the bike and how when the front end comes up and it wants to loop, that all I have to do is gently press the rear brake and I can spare that front tire from going all the way back, but just light enough that it keeps the front end still up. So eventually it started to turn into I could bring the front end up, I can now maintain the front end up and start moving a little bit greater distance slower. And so everything started to come together for me, and I really want to thank you very much for pointing out my lack of use of that rear brake. Not just covering the rear brake, but utilizing the rear brake in addition to the clutch and the throttle. And so I'm going to show you a couple clips here of me practicing using the rear brake, practicing pulling the front end up, dragging one leg, hitting the rear brake, and then a third video where I bring the front end up and I bring both feet onto the pegs, and then I'm doing a slow wheelie it's not necessarily the greatest distance, but I have now got that feeling inside of me when I ride and I do my wheelies. I understand the whole mechanics of a slow wheelie. And so it's really important for you to understand clutch control or clutch modulation, throttle control, and rear brake control. Not just covering the rear brake to save your butt, but using the rear brake to help you maintain that slow wheelie. So here we go. Okay guys, that's gonna wrap it up, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for commenting, because your comments mean a lot to me. They really help me progress, and I really appreciate the comments that help direct me in what I should be doing to help improve myself. And that's the whole reason behind Naturally Caffeinated, is putting myself out there so that I'm forced to improve, basically, because everyone's gonna watch these videos and they're gonna say, well, he's okay. I'm gonna get comments that say, hey, you need to do this. And it's going to make me think. Then I'm going to go out, I'm going to practice. So I really appreciate the comments. Please comment below on your progress on the slow wheelies and what you've done to help improve yourself. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.